Okay, and we are live. So, I have with me today, and you might have to help me with your name, uh, Adi Kaimowitz. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Perfect.
Awesome.
Hi. Well done.
And thank you for joining Adi. He is the president and CEO of Virtual Actuary and is in Cape Town, South Africa. I'm here as usual in Flagstaff, Arizona, so it's an early morning for me, and it's more in the evening for Adi over there. So, once again, thanks for joining. And actually, Audie had this idea of doing a different format where we're going to do more of like three questions, three answers. So instead of just me interviewing, we're going to kind of go back and forth, ask each other a few questions. I thought it'd be kind of a fun format for the day.
A three and three.
Three and three. That's exactly right. Three questions, three answers. So, my first question for you, I do want to ask you about kite surfing, but I'm gonna actually hold that off for a minute.
You can
Uh,
you can have that if you want. You can have that as a bonus question.
Okay, that'll be a bonus question at the end. Um, but I wanted to start off with virtual actuary. I honestly hadn't heard of it before, and I started looking at it. It looks pretty cool, and I'm curious, kind of how that came about, and what is virtual actuary, and how did you come up with that name?
Okay, it's a good question. How I came up with the name. So, hi everybody. For those that are up nice and early, and for those that are going to watch later, that's excellent. I'll probably watch it myself a few times. So what is virtual actuary? Very simply, our business is an actuarial consultancy. What's quite nice is most of the people that are listening are actuaries.
Yes,
So I can just
exactly.
talk. So normally I have to say, oh, it's an actuary consulting business, but that's not. It's an
Yeah,
actuarial
yeah.
consultancy. We work across. We work across banking. We work across insurance. So that would be long-term life insurance as well as general insurance in South Africa, which I believe is known as PNC.
Yep.
We also work in healthcare. We work on the pension side and banking and investments. Okay, fine. So it's pretty much your full spectrum, your full repertoire, and your traditional consultancy, like some of your big consultancies, your big four consultancies, and yeah. So that's kind of the full spectrum. Some of the departments are doing better than others, and that's what we are. How we came up with the name is the business was the result of the question, what do you do with the most dynamic, large network of actuaries in South Africa? Because
Yeah.
what happened was I started off as a recruiter of actuaries 10 years ago.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I'm non-actuarial. My skill sets are different. Okay, my skill sets are more business, admin,
Yep,
operational,
yep.
marketing, sales, online, SEO type stuff. Okay, the other little bits and bobs. I like to do gardening and landscaping, but that's another
Nice, nice.
story.
Yep. And kite surfing.
And kite surfing, it's my big thing. That's my thing. I'm actually a full time kite surfer. I do everything else on the side.
Exactly.
And I operated in my old business called Actuary for about 8 or 9 or 10 years. And LinkedIn, unfortunately, has made it very difficult for recruiters to operate. And so, what does one do with a network of actuaries? Well, after 2 years of
Oh, it froze for a minute. Are you there? I'm gonna give it a minute. Looks like Audie, are you there? We may have a technical difficulty here. I'm gonna wait just a minute to see if he comes back on. He said he might have some challenges with the electricity today, so with some contractors there. So it's possible it went out. Hold on, folks. Anyone who's watching, we're going to give it 1 minute to see if we can get him back on.
Sorry, the load shedding kicked in.
Oh no, you're
Just
fine.
gotta,
I was just talking to the audience about that,
yeah.
and we're still live, so you're good.
Okay.
It was
So,
only it was only a
just
minute,
a
and I
few,
said I was like, yeah, he's got some
yeah,
contractors there, and the
yeah,
electricity might have gone out.
yeah. So we're just gonna roll with it. I'm running the internet or something else at the moment.
Okay.
Um, so what happened was when you have a network of actuaries and you know the industry, you understand the people in the industry, you understand the actuaries, the clients. What do you do with that network? And after four different ideas, I was going to do a credit card for actuaries, and we were going to do a monthly gift pack for actuaries, and we were going to do uh, like a tailoring service for actuaries, anything to do with actuaries.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
after 2 years, eventually I decided I was sitting down and the name virtual actuary came into my mind, and I thought, okay, fine. So if we can open
Oh, it looks like it. Are you there? Looks like we froze again. Well, we might have a few issues on this one, but we'll see. Hopefully, hopefully he'll be able to jump back on. We'll give it a minute here.
so frustrating.
Oh
Okay,
no,
we'll
you're
just
fine.
move on.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, fine. So what happened was I noticed over the 10 years that there was one major problem that independent actuaries faced. And this is the problem: capacity.
Yeah.
An independent actuary cannot take on more work than they can handle. That's your major problem. Because let's say you get work, okay, you can't take on more work. Maybe you can
Yes.
do one client or two clients at a time, okay? But what happens if we could bring together 20 independent actuaries?
Yeah.
If we could bring together 20 independent actuaries and work together in what is known as an organized collaborative. So those 20 actuaries collaborate. We have the virtual actuary business as the shell, the business,
Yep.
and we go out and we get clients as a consultancy. When
Interesting.
those clients come in and they need a team of actuaries spread across the different sectors, like let's say there's a banking actuary that's part of our network that works under the virtual actuary banner, and we're contracted with the client. And as part of that, they say, oh, we need a big data scientist. We need a big data actuary that knows SQL. I don't know SQL. The
Yeah.
project's taken a bit of a turn. I would bring in a SQL big data actuary into that project and operate it as a turnkey consultancy. So we would engage with the client as a normal consultancy, as a team. So
Okay.
everybody wins. That independent actuary is able to leverage the skill set of the other actuaries to be able to handle a bigger project. And at the end, and the difference is at the end of the month, when the client is invoiced for those hours, because a lot of the contracts are 6 months
Right.
or more. So when that client is invoiced at the end of the month, they pay us within 7 days. Those are our terms, and we pay the actuaries immediately. So the actuaries are commission earning contractors.
Okay. Interesting. And so you've
We
got
work as an
actuaries that are all over the place then.
Yes, we've got actuaries in Bulgaria, and we've got actuaries in Australia and in the UK and in the US. We opened a business, an LLC in the US in January,
Okay. Nice.
and we waited for our head of the US business to resign from the business, which he did, to join us.
Yep.
She's on a little bit of a sabbatical at the moment, and in my opinion, and then she'll go full on with us. In my opinion, she's probably one of the most business astute actuaries that I know, and I know a lot of actuaries,
Wow.
and so we'll push forward with her and the US team, supported by that South African actuary, supported by some of the other overseas actuaries. So we're an organized collaborative of independent actuaries that all work together. Okay. And to answer your question, where the name came from is actuaries consulting from home in virtual and augmented reality.
Okay. Yep.
So at the moment, we're operating as a normal consultancy with actuaries working inside the client's office on lockdown laptops, but we're now working with AWS to more so interact digitally and in the cloud with the data,
Yep.
moving towards virtual and augmented reality. We also use programs like Zoom and Slack to be able to improve the consulting experience in a more so digital way.
Yeah.
So we're not completely away from your normal consulting. It's a progression towards actuaries consulting from home in virtual and augmented reality. So that's the answer to your question.
Okay. Interesting. I like it. And I mean, it seems like a powerful idea and business to have, especially the fact that I mean, so many actuaries, and then to bring them all together in that kind of a way, and being able to access actuaries from around the world and not having to be just limited to one space. I mean, that's pretty amazing. So,
Exactly. Just give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I just want to switch the thing off, and then I'm going to
oh
ask
yeah, yeah,
you a question. Okay.
yep,
2 seconds.
go for it.
Okay. I found the thing that was making the buzzing sound, which is very encouraging. Okay,
Oh, good.
so let's push on. So I've got some questions. It's the 3 and 3.
Yep, yep,
Okay,
I'm ready for it.
okay, Paul, if Microsoft was going to set up an Excel VR virtual reality for the business professional, what do you think the grouping or layout could be for ease of use? Do you think it will make sense for actuaries to work in a VR setting instead of staring at screens? Dun, dun, dun.
Dun dun dun. So I think this is an interesting question, and I know there's all sorts of types of virtual reality, and I'm no expert in virtual reality, but the answer to the second part of the question is yes, I could see actuaries working in a virtual reality setting. I mean, in a way, you could kind of say that you and me right now are in a very
A more immersive experience.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, but I'm saying like this is kind of virtual reality right now. Uh, but what I was thinking about was, and I don't know what Microsoft had in mind. But if you had some sort of headset or something where you could visualize data in a better way than just a spreadsheet, I think it would be pretty cool. Maybe it would be some sort of three-dimensional space where you could see like a table of data over here, you could see a table of data over here, and then you could like swipe your hand in the air and you could move stuff around. So I see it as more of an efficiency thing where you could visualize more than what you can visualize now on just a screen, where you would literally have this 3D environment. I think that would be pretty amazing. So that was kind of one idea I had. I was also thinking about it, and I know with VR they actually have textured type things, so like you can feel, touch, and feel as opposed to just see. So I think it'd be interesting if you had some sort of controller or device where maybe when you're analyzing something, oftentimes I'll have a spreadsheet where I'll color stuff or color code things, and instead of that, maybe you'll have like some sort of texture so you can um, feel different areas and you can more easily organize your data and make decisions that way. And maybe you'd see things that you wouldn't otherwise see if you didn't have that 3D virtual environment. So the
I
answer
like
to
that a lot. Like maybe a new mechanism to be able to touch and feel the environment. I like that. I've never
yeah,
thought about that.
Yeah, because I know they have that now for other types of things, and I don't know what Microsoft is working on or what they're thinking about with their VR stuff, but I could totally see it going that way. And actuaries already are working, as you mentioned. You have virtual actuary where you have people all around the world. They're on screens. They're in virtual places anyway. So I feel like this would just be one extension to that, where instead of a computer, it might be some other. Well, it'd be some sort of computerized device. It just might be a little different than looking at a laptop screen. So I definitely could see actuaries working in a virtual reality space.
Very nice, very nice. Let's let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
crack
so
on. I
so
want to get
I
there
guess
as
I
much as
guess
we
I mean
can.
I'm no expert in virtual reality, but those were kind of my thoughts on that. Um,
It's a tricky space. It's a tricky space. You know, do you reinvent the concept of what you think it's going to be, or do you go with what you think it's going to be?
yeah,
It's a tough one.
and my thoughts are coming from what I've already seen with virtual reality. So it's like, I mean, I think there's a lot of possibilities for sure. Um, okay, so
Very
my
nice.
my next question for you is, and you kind of already mentioned that your background a little bit, but I wanted to ask you about your background before starting virtual actuary and kind of you're obviously an entrepreneur. You've had a lot of different ideas. Like, what motivated you as a non-actuary to start a virtual actuary business? And I think it's amazing. I'm just curious for you what the motivation was.
I wish it was a glamorous, awesome story. I think the reality is that I hate being an entrepreneur. To be quite honest,
There we go.
my
No, I like it.
my dream was always to get a job at like an investment bank,
Mm-hmm.
or just something in finance, or just something glamorous,
Yep.
and unfortunately when I went to university, the stats was too tricky and the accounting was too tricky, and I didn't pass. And so as the years progressed, I didn't get that degree. And I got involved in a lot of different businesses from a sales and marketing perspective. A lot of it was grassroots sales, selling different objects for different businesses. Some of it was magazine sales, some of it was more sort of chemical type stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And so unfortunately, survival, that's the reality. as
Oh,
as
it
some
makes
people might
sense.
find it, oh, he slept on a bench, he didn't cut his toenails for like 3 years. I mean, this guy was radical. He used to juggle at the circus, and he
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
eat fire. People like these say, people like that, that's amazing. Like, oh my god, that guy, he used to be bold. I mean, can't believe, like, so people love that kind of crazy stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately, it was that sort of, but at the time when you're going through it and you're just trying to survive and you're just trying to, get a product that you're proud of. So somewhere along the line, about 10 years ago, I stumbled upon somebody that was a manager of a recruitment business that recruited actuaries.
Okay. Interesting.
And
Yeah.
we chatted about it, and I got the job. He said, like, you can have the job. Like, I like you. You seem cool. And I literally started from there, and I just started interacting with actors. So that's what happened. It wasn't glamorous. And then what happened was I was there for about a year, and I felt that the business should be run in a certain way,
Yeah.
and they didn't agree. So I left, and I waited out the restraint of trade. And then, as soon as that was over, I opened up my own recruitment business called Actuary. So that's how I got into the industry. I'm kind of like, so, so the business, so, so after running that business, and I think quite successfully in a way, it's just that, recruitment is tricky. You're trying to get people to resign, and
Yep.
it's a tough game, recruitment. People think that recruiters are idiots, but I promise you now, it's tricky. You really have to understand what work needs to be done, the depth of the work, the level, the team dynamic. It's actually a very, very difficult role to recruit people, and
I believe
especially
that.
actuaries.
Yeah.
What's quite tricky about actuaries is actually talking to them about what they're currently doing,
Yep.
and what is the next progression for them in their careers. Actuaries are such calculating people
Yep.
that if you're going to talk to them about making a move, or a new job or new work, They want to know, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm earning. I've calculated my 2.5% into my home loan. This is what I'm getting as a benefit. This is my bonus structure. This is my short-term, long-term incentive. If I'm going to make this move, why should I make this move?
Yeah.
Why should I do this work? Am I going to progress into being a manager? Is it going to increase my skill set? There's a lot of things to take into consideration. So after diving quite deep into the actuarial career progression and understanding what makes actuaries tick, really, and then eventually I saw the gap of running a new age actuarial consultancy. Luckily for me, I hadn't progressed as an actuary like some of the other partners at the other consultancies.
Right.
But the problem is when they get to the top, they run their business from the top down like the partners that ran it when they were at the bottom. You got to work hard to get to the top. You got to do your apprenticeship. If you're lucky, we'll put you on different projects. It's myth. You know what myth means? It's myth. Okay, it's not nice
Yeah,
to be
yeah, yeah,
treated like
yeah.
that. With us, we do it differently. My thing is, come in as an entrepreneurial actuary. We want you to succeed. So, how can we bring you into a project, allow you to learn and work, but also take responsibility for your own progression? So, once you get that right, we'll put you on more and more and more projects. So, you eventually become a super actuary, but you're part of our business. And when we start taking on big clients that require somebody like you to run a team of 5 people underneath you, you will have built up to that. So
Yep.
the aim is that you will become a super actuary that has a portfolio of clients, that has teams that you work with and teams that work underneath you.
Yes.
But at the same time, in comfort. It's a lifestyle business. So it's not you come into a big corporate office, the CEO is unapproachable,
Yeah.
you can't, you're just a worker, you're an employee. Ours is totally different. Ours is we want you to go to yoga at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We want you to have breakfast with your family at 8 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
and plug into the morning meeting via Zoom from home. Miss
Yeah.
the traffic. Then come in, do some work, go do some yoga, do some soccer, go watch your kids play soccer or whatever,
Yes.
swimming, and then come back, do 2 or 3 hours, have some dinner with the family, then maybe do 2 or 3 hours in the evening. So
Yeah.
it's a lifestyle business. So I can't remember what the original question was, but so we do things differently because I'm involved, and also I have a co-CEO.
Okay. Yeah.
Who's probably one of the most business astute actuaries in the like spread across banking, life insurance, pensions. Like he can do it all. His name is Johan Froelich. He's unbelievable, and he'll blow your socks off.
That's amazing.
And not because he's so amazing. He is so amazing, but more because if there's a problem to be solved, he will pull 14-hour shifts for 2 weeks in a row, Saturdays and Sundays, so that the client gets exactly what they're looking for at an affordable rate and that the client is happy. Because that's how we build the business. Roll your sleeves up and do it properly. That's a different type of partner to one that maybe progressed where they had an army of people helping them. It's a little bit different how we operate.
Definitely.
Hope that answers the question.
No, that answered the question. That's
and then,
good.
And then moving towards virtual reality. So that's a whole nother story. More advanced software. So there's a lot going on here. We're going to be opening the sort of the five of the Upwork, the top 12 for actuaries. It's going to be AI driven. You're going to be ranked. The work that you do is going to be ranked by the AI that is coached by the actuaries. So you can't get away from it. If you're amazing, your points will be peaking, your fees will be peaking, you'll be very sought after. It used to be that client, insurer, reinsurer goes to a consultancy and the team that's there. Those teams are decimating. They're not there all the time. It's changing toward, I want that actuary. That actuary is amazing.
Yep.
So people are going to go to that actuary and their team. So you as a brand and the teams that work, and so people will magnetize towards you as an actuary, and you'll have a team of followers and actuaries you coach up and you train up to work underneath you. You are the brand, not the brand that you work for. Completely different mindset. And the clients will buy into that and they're starting to buy into that.
Definitely. I mean, you can be more selective that way. So that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to me. All right, so I'm gonna let you fire the next question at me.
Question two. As an actuary, what are the two best pieces of advice you received and took on to interact with those who are not actuaries? The actuary mind interacts with the world slightly differently. And in order to succeed, one needs to understand how those who are not actuaries in the business world think.
Yeah, so I would say the two best pieces of advice I received um, were probably more non-actuarial in nature, and number one was to be able to communicate. And I know that sounds very simple, but it was the best piece because as an actuary, like you can do usually like I mean you're gonna have a math background or a statistics background. You've gone through the exam process. You're probably pretty good with spreadsheets. You're probably pretty good with data. So you've got this whole techie side to you, or this whole data side, and you can analyze the numbers. You can, write up equations. You can do all these things, but excuse me, if you can't communicate those results, it's really not going to matter in the end. And whether that communication is through speaking, that's one way, or whether that's through writing, or whatever other mode you need to communicate that to people, I feel like that has helped me the most at the companies that I have worked at in the past. Um, and so I would say that that was the number one piece of advice that I received. Um, Number two would be, um, let me think. What would be number two? Number two would be probably I had one actuary tell me to always ask questions, um, and don't live under the impression that you have to be the one who knows everything, because there's kind of this pressure with the word actuary that you're the guru, you're the one who knows everything, you're the one who's the business person, you know the numbers, you have all the answers, but that's not always the case. And being able to ask questions is key, not only for your own knowledge and for helping you out with a problem, but like I think it helps other people as well. Because usually, if you have a question, a lot of other people have the same question. Um, so I think that for myself, I know that those are maybe that's advice that could be used for non-actuaries too, but I would say, especially in the actuarial profession, those two things have helped me the most: communication, asking questions.
10 out of 10.
Excellent. And I know you're an excellent communicator, so I'm sure for yourself that's been a huge thing probably.
We, we have a lot of tough conversations with some very high level clients about deliverables, about pricing, about why they should go with us. So one needs to try to be accommodating, firm, confident, and be able to actually move forward on projects. And sometimes have some really tough conversations on both sides. So
Yeah,
yeah, you have to try your best to really understand what are the priority points that one has to get across.
definitely. No, I agree. All right, my next question for you is kind of looking forward to the next 50 to 100 years. What value do you feel like actuaries are going to bring? Is it going to be something similar to what we're seeing today? Or do you feel like with everything that's changing with technology um, and our changing world that we're in, do you think that actuaries are going to be doing something different?
I think that there are actuarial concepts that are the foundations of banking, the foundations of insurance. They are pillars of those industries. One might almost say that those industries were only created because an actuarial mindset and methodology spurred that to happen.
Yeah.
So, so just because somebody has automated the way to make it easier to engage with that sector doesn't mean that the actuarial mind will not be needed
Yes.
to oversee everything involved. So I think that as things progress, what you will find is a lot of the mundane tasks will be automated. The more day-to-day stuff will be automated. And, and what you'll find is that actuaries will have overseeing roles, making sure that the AI is working, that the machine learning is working correctly. Somebody has to set it up, somebody has to monitor it, almost like when people build up a nuclear power plant, somebody has to sit in the control room and make sure that everything is running correctly. Somebody has to say, in order for the power output in 5 years' time to be correct, we have to make sure that these machines are lined up for the next 25 sessions.
Yes.
That that when that happens, these have to be ready. So what will happen is actuaries will play more of a preemptive pre-role in making sure that anything in banking or fintech or anything in Bitcoin, somebody has to price the Bitcoins. Somebody has to price the transactions. Somebody has to make sure that the risk matches the output. If you look at some of the insurtechs, they've slightly cut corners on their pricing
Yeah.
because they didn't have years and years of
Of experience.
methodology, experience, investigation. So what
Yeah.
happened was they came in at certain prices that they thought were right. They didn't realize that their claims premium might spike in certain areas.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental mistake.
Right.
So what's happening is they're burning money learning.
Yep. And that
So
actually,
you,
what you're talking about now is probably a good lead into. I know the question that the last question you were going to ask me was related to InsurTech, um, and
yeah.
so my answer is going to be very similar to what you're talking about right now.
Mm. So for us, the most important thing is the actuary mind. Very, very special. We want to take geography out of the equation. Where an actuary can work from home or work from a hotel or work from an aeroplane or work while kite surfing, but the actuary mind is dealing with reporting, regulatory stuff, changes in international financial reporting standards. How does that impact the insurance business? How does it impact the bank? If one is going to do money transfers from a fintech perspective, how does that impact tax? Because actuaries have almost taken over from accountants in those different sectors.
Right.
So it's the actual data science. We want big data to how does the reinsurer interact with their clients in an Internet of Things way? You can't just bring data scientists or Internet of Things people, IT people, and we need actuaries that understand how Internet of Things work.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that they have to be sitting in an office. They can be sitting anywhere. Let me apply my mind to this problem. So I think that it's the actuary mind taking geography away will always be useful in in working out methodologies and strategic answers to very complex questions. But I think the more sort of, well, we need to do evaluations, run all that more sort of brick and mortar type stuff will fall away. But then what you'll find is that new jobs will come in, like if you look, I need a social media manager, one of the biggest jobs in the world at the moment. That job didn't exist before. So
Yep.
you'll find similar roles where actuaries will control the AI and the machine learning stuff. in those sectors. That will be a new role to deal with the big data and the Internet of Things data that's coming in, which was completely not there before, but interacting with the regulators,
Yeah.
problems that they've never faced before, like certain social media networks that are engaging in the data itself. How does that work from a risk perspective? If you're a company that has an online presence in these social media platforms and there's adverts, how do we manage that risk? How do we weigh up? How do we price that risk? Totally new environment. If you look at, and last thing I'm going to say, if you look at, this is a nice one, Second Life, which is a online virtual reality world. You've heard of Second Life? Second Life is kind of like
I
a
haven't heard of it.
leisure suit. Second Life's a leisure suit, Larry. You have your emoji, you go in there,
Yeah.
you buy property. It's kind of like Minecraft type stuff. It's called
Okay.
Second Life. People made millions selling the property.
Really?
Millions. In real life, you
Wow.
wanted the property in Second Life in a great spot. The real estate agents made millions because people pull out the credit cards, buy property. So let's say that property, now they start making more weather patterns in the environment. Who's going to sell the insurance and come up with the products and the pricing in a Second Life environment and price it correctly? Actually. So my point is that actuarial mind is going to just shift a little bit into the different environments, the different products. That's what I think.
So you're
That's
saying
my
that
calculated.
people are actually spending millions of dollars in a virtual environment to buy property right now?
Well, they did it over the last couple of years. So it's, millions.
That's
They made
insane.
millions.
I had never heard that. That's crazy. Um,
Yeah. No.
well,
Okay, so let me ask you the last question.
we're running low on time, so we'll do the yeah, let's do the final question.
Do you believe traditional insurers will be able to fend off insurtech companies? Are insurtechs cutting too many corners, or are traditional insurers too slow to keep up with the change?
So I think this kind of relates to what you were talking about a little bit ago. I'm, my background is more in traditional insurance companies. That's more where I've worked. I know a little bit about insurtech. I don't know a whole lot, so I can't speak completely as an expert. But from what I know, I would say that um, I think InsurTech tries to find efficiencies and ways to save money through technology. They try to look at behavior patterns and these other things where they feel like they have an advantage over a traditional insurance company. I think that it has a long way to go, and I think that the two, and you kind of mentioned this, will end up working together more or as opposed to the two being opposed to each other. Because I think that you need to have the expertise and the experience, and kind of like you mentioned, that one insurtech company didn't see that there was going to be claim spikes at certain times in the year, whereas maybe in the future it could be programmed to see that, but it's only because it caught the mistake. So now there's going to be something else. It may not be claim spikes. It may be something related to reserves, or it might be something related to a particular piece of business where a human who has had experience with that business may see certain things that an insurtech company may not, and that's because of experience. So I think that's where actuaries um, are always going to have some form of value, because not only do you have the data number side to you, but you also have that experience. And when you combine the two, I think that's where you get the most powerful results. Um, and so, theoretically, I think you can program for almost anything, but the problem is at this point in time, we don't know what all to program for without the experience. And so I think that's what is very challenging, and even in the AI and the programming spaces, like to think about behavior and responding to things and adapting and basically making a machine like a human. We're just not at the point, at least right now, where we can just kind of get rid of a human. Um, So I guess my answer to the question is I I think that the two kind of need to work together. I don't think traditional insurance is going to go away for quite a while. I mean, I think it could change. Definitely, it could change and evolve, but I don't think it's going to go away.
Fair enough.
So those are my thoughts. And my final bonus question, since you said I get a bonus question, was I wanted to find out what got you into kite surfing because you mentioned before we started the interview. For anyone who's watching, uh, Adi is a very avid kite surfer.
So what got me into kite surfing? I'll tell you what got me into kite surfing. This was the vision. I worked during the day. I down my tools and I have the most intense 20-meter jumps off the wave, hardcore life or death kite surfing session where everything's on the line.
Yep.
Where when you get back onto the beach and you've actually survived, it's like, wow, I can't believe I made that.
Yeah.
You drive home, okay, I'm 2 seconds away from the beach here. You sit down, you have a bit of dinner, it's like 6 o'clock in the evening, and you're thinking to yourself, thinking, that was such a productive day. Like that one jump was amazing. That
Yeah.
one meeting with the client was amazing. I did gym in the morning. The reason I got into kite surfing was because it it was the gap that I really needed filled. And in fact, I do a lot of my thinking kiting.
I believe it.
And yeah, and like Richard Branson, it's as fun and radical as it looks. And to be able to harness that danger and be able to kind of like box it and kind of like put it like a dome around it, use it, put it back on the shelf, and then like go to sleep that night and the next morning like sit in a boardroom meeting thinking about like how awesome it is. And I believe that that kind of a person will be able to handle a client job significantly better than somebody that goes to work, comes home, eats some dinner, and sits on the couch.
Yes.
Like who would you want as a service provider? Somebody who does that kind of stuff, or somebody that just like flops when they get home? So I believe that I want to be the kind of person, and I want to use service providers that are similar to me, and so I want to be the kind of person that gets wholesome things out of life, whether it's in work,
Yep.
whether it's in those that work in the business and what they get out of the business and the satisfaction. Satisfaction is the key word. It's
Definitely.
about satisfaction.
Yep.
So we get a lot of satisfaction from kiting.
That's awesome. I like it. It's kind of like it's you believe that your lifestyle bleeds into every aspect of what you do, and I mean I think that's a big thing as opposed to just flopping on the couch and watching TV every night. Um, and I mean I myself I'm big into not kite surfing, but I like fitness. I like hiking. I like all sorts of things, and I don't think it's very a part of the reason that I personally have made a change in terms of like trying to work on this business stuff. I'm back in the academic setting. I'm doing a lot of different things. Is because with the corporate job, even though I like the work, I felt like there was a trap of that like 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or maybe even 8 to 7 or 8 to 8 where I'm just stuck in a cubicle all day. And it doesn't even feel as productive because, like you're saying, you can end up thinking about things in other environments. And so I like this concept.
Good. Well, I'm very grateful to have spent the time with you, and I hope that anybody that watches gets value from what has been said. And we're trying our best, and we're going for it. So this has really been fun, and it's been a nice get together.
Yeah, this has been very nice. I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for doing this, and I like the question format. So thank you everyone for joining today. And Audie is out from Cape Town, South Africa. I'm out from Flagstaff, Arizona. We will talk to you all next time.